So, it's July. Somehow it's July. I just got out of the shower. I come back and today's show's still on. And they're doing one of those segments where they're doing fashion stuff. Like there's this lady showing you different wide brim hats. And I'm just like, after everything that happened last year, after the lockdowns and the pandemic and everything that happened, I've said before, that was a perfect opportunity for people to get better. And I'm looking at these people doing the same old fashion segments that I've always thought was stupid on what's supposed to be, you know, basically an extended news program. And I'm just looking at it, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, this is the normal you wanted to get back to? That's the normal that everybody is saying, I don't care how many vaccines, well, not everybody, there's people who say, I don't care how many vaccines I have to get, I just want to go back to normal. Normal wasn't great. You know, I didn't want everything overturned, but for everybody to some degree, people are trying to act like nothing happened. And that is always wrong. Whenever we go through stuff in this life, even if there isn't a real reason for it, at least you're supposed to learn something from it and adjust yourself or be different or something, take away something, and even if it's your way of thinking or whatever. So I'm just sitting there looking at this stupid segment and I'm like, it's ridiculous. These were always ridiculous. There's so much going on in the world, you know. News programs like this, they have these less than 5-minute segments for actual news stuff. You know, if there's a war somewhere, if there's an earthquake, if, you know, something really newsworthy is going on. They don't even give it 5 minutes. And then they spend all this time on what hat you should buy. You know? I used to complain because in the beginning it seemed like I used to call it flip-flops, because when I first complaining about this years ago with them doing this, it was like, why do they think people don't know how to buy flip-flops? Because they were constantly showing people these new flip-flops. These have like, these are bedazzled, and you know, and I used to be like, why do people need you to tell them that? You know, but now after everything that's happened, forget about going back to work or going back to the office. Why do people want to go back to being as dumb as we were in 2019? Any of us. Why do you want to go back and have whatever mindset you had then? Was it that great? Was your life that great? I bet you it wasn't. Even if you're rich and you had money, you're a reporter on one of these shows and your life was never really locked down like regular people. Because for a whole year, we were steaming towards a new normal, an altered world. And now it just looks like it was just, everything about it was a farce. Whether you believed in, you know, certain theories or anything like that, or if anything was planned or anything like that, that's not the point. What humans should have taken away from it, how humans should have changed, which they may have done. I don't really know any, but from what I'm seeing and what's coming through the television, and when I go outside and there's people there, honestly, when I'm around people, people still look confused. They look confused, but they're just, again, normal people, the kind of people I come into contact with, we always have to just do the day-to-day tasks. We're just getting stuff done. We're going where we have to go, running the errands we have to run. You know, kind of, we were messed up before anyway. But, so I'm not really going to see people in an office, have they changed? I'm not going to see, you know, people who were doing well as far as they're concerned, or they had a life they liked, or they had, you know, plans they were making. Say people were dating someone in 2019 and, you know, how the pandemic affected or didn't affect that. Like I said, I already talked about people who suddenly were getting married and doing all this stupid stuff. But, because to me, anything, the whole, not related to the disease, But the lockdowns, the whole year should have been an asterisk year. You know, I know Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl and I was happy about that. But sports-wise, I thought everything should have been an asterisk year. The Oscars, anything where, you know, the normal situation didn't happen, so it should have been, all right, not it didn't count, but kind of it didn't count. Everything that happened in the last year should have been taken with, you know, a weighted value or seen in a filter. And we should have learned or progressed or evolved somehow to being better. And I'm sitting here, my life is worse. To some degree, I'm looking at things like time just went by, and I have to remind myself of everything I went through. And that's why I'm the hot mess. I didn't tell every single thing that happened, you know, because I only started doing these in January, and I was mostly talking about current events, trying to keep myself distracted, trying to keep myself relatively normal. You know what I mean? That's why I still react to trailers when I'm not going to the movies. You know, I would love to watch that one that just came on HBO Max. Like I said, Benicio is one of my favorite. He's my, you know, second favorite actor, and I know that's a great cast. And I'm not a fan of Soderbergh's, but you know, under normal circumstances, if it was in the movie theater, I would have seen it. But it's not normal circumstances. I am not going back to whatever my normal was. It's just not a possibility for me. I can't be alone in that. But I'm not even talking about the material stuff. I'm not talking about money, and I'm talking about attitude. I'm talking about your personal code, your ways of thinking, what's important, what's not important. And, you know, just the fact that a bunch of people did die, and it seemed to have been, whether it's statistics or not, it seems to have been from this thing. And there was this thing we all went through. We should have processed that and become something, you know. But it looks like we're just kind of trying to act like it never happened. Meanwhile, another segment these people will do will be on the mental health crisis, but then they don't act like there's a mental health crisis. And what are they talking about? What else happened? I mean, the people doing the news, and I understand news is news. So if news is going to be news, it should be news. Meaning, if they're just reporting what happened, and they're not, because that's what their job is. Their job is not to really philosophize with us and stuff like that. So if they just did the news, I wouldn't say anything. But the amount of time they spend pretending to be profound and pretending to give a crap about stuff, that aggravates me, because it's like they're not processing and taking into account what's happened and how we should all be different now, and how therefore reporting should be different, and what we're focusing on and what their segments are on, and the way people talk to people, and the way things are done, and the way government works. Everything should have been affected by, we should have learned, we should have grown. Things should have, I won't say morphed, but it's like looking at evidence and not taking anything into account. And I guess people do this, you know, and we can see that when we're talking about, like I said, celebrities who get into trouble for something, and people just look at it like, oh, somebody did a wrong thing, goodbye, jail, later, you know, and people don't take into account the circumstances and the behind the scenes and why things happen, the reasons, the causes. I know there's a word, and it's not a difficult word. It's just old age. Let me pause for a second and see if I can come up with the word. Oh, I'm not coming up with the word. You know what I could come up with? Calculus, summation, stuff like that. Compounding interest. We should all be doing things differently, and instead I feel like we're being forced to try to hurry up and remember what we were like before and do that again. And hurry up and go back and snap back into shit. Just like, okay, say somebody was sick or where something happened and they were in the hospital for a long time. You know what I mean? But they used to jog every day. Well, they haven't been jogging every day. Maybe their muscles have atrophied. You know, they can't jog every day. They can't lift the weights they used to lift. And you have to take into account that, you know, yeah, you can't just go back and do what you were doing the day before, because you have to... what word am I missing? You have to acknowledge that things... You can't just snap back. You can't just... Because you're not that person anymore. Even if it's Friday. Okay? Today's Thursday. But I'm saying, pretend it's a Friday. Okay? Things have happened to you since Monday. So, whether you like it or not, you're not the same person you were Monday. Whether you want to be, try to be, you're a fixed sign, and you're somebody who is not changeable, and you don't change very much over time, even still, you're not, if on a Friday, you're not the same person you were on the Monday. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to say. But I feel like there's this pressure on all of us, and I've never done that. But every step of the way during the lockdowns, I was taking everything into account. I was thinking all the time. I feel like on the inside, I changed a whole hell of a lot. You know, it's even because we were locked down at this point a year ago. So say since July 1st last year, I've changed a whole hell of a lot. A whole hell of a lot. Not in a good way, but I can't go, you know, what was that movie? With Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey? I can't go and erase my mind. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I mean, yeah, you're a Scientologist, they do that thing with the that's supposed to erase things so you could go back and be in a fresh state. I mean, you could try doing that. But just the concept of it bothered me. Not that I think they're bad people or anything like that. Just the idea that you will go and erase your experiences so that you can start anew like nothing happened. I don't think that's why we're alive. I mean, if people are alive and they suffer and they go through things, it can't just be bad luck and they're still supposed to act like that never happened. You know? And that's what I feel like either everybody's trying to do, or they're trying to get us to do it, or I don't know, but it can't, I don't think, and maybe, how would you know now? Because you can't go to a doctor or ask an expert without them coming from some agenda. But I don't think under normal circumstances, back in the day, any kind of psychologist or psychiatrist would tell you to just, oh, okay, just go back to acting the way you were before that traumatic thing happened. I don't think anybody would tell you to do that. Okay, just forget it happened. Let me hypnotize you to think it never happened. I mean, if we don't use this shit as a learning experience, if we don't use this shit to develop as humans, then that whole last year, it's not even a waste. It's beyond a waste. Because it is a waste. We did waste a year. But we wasted a decade after 9/11 because people were so traumatized by watching that footage over and over again. And that came through the television too. But, we can't just go back to normal. I don't know if people really are. Nobody talks like humans anymore. Everybody says what they have to say to get likes and not get canceled, so I'm starting to feel like I'm in an echo chamber, a one-person echo chamber that's not of my choosing. And I have no idea what's going on in the world. And I never thought it was going to get like that. And if I asked a million people, I don't even feel like I would get an honest answer. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm so far beyond being able to do regular, like, do things that I need to do now. It's just like, Like if I took my head off and had it floating on some like kind of hovercraft next to me. Because I'm not here. I'm not here in this world. And if I try to be, I'll panic and just freak out for however long, have to get over it until I get myself back to this place of, I said, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't feel like, I don't know. That's what my feeling is. I don't know. It's a big I don't know. Right across here. You know, like I'm not engaged in this world. Not on purpose. Because I have never been able to connect with bullshit. I hated history. And I used to say to my, not hated history, that was my worst subject. And I said, when I got older, I said, I think that's because history is made up. When I listen to some politicians, I tune in to watch a politician give a speech. Sometimes I mean to watch it. And the whole speech goes by and I haven't heard a word because I always felt like my brain cannot connect with artifice. You know, those demonic type people who mix the truth with lies, I can pay attention to them because there's truth in there. But when everything is saccharine, everything is made up. I even said that about movies like the Phantom Menace when they had the Gunga battle with the droids. Like I said, my brain checked out because it knew none of that was, nothing there was real or remotely real. And my brain just leaves and doesn't pay attention to that. So, or if you watch like a scene in a movie and it's clearly overly CGI and it's a bunch of just flying animals and tanks and things that aren't real, I stop paying attention. So right now, everything that's coming through the TV and people and the discussions people are having, right now, none of it, it's all artifice. And if it's artifice, I don't pay attention. So I'm basically, my brain is like I'm sitting here watching a test pattern. Not just TV, the internet. Anything coming from that's supposed to be me hearing people or listening to people, it just seems like a test pattern or static. You know, it's just, there's nothing there. You know, just a fog that's being created by people trying to fake it till they make it back to the past lives that we had when you can't actually do that. I wish I was in charge so that I could tell everybody, hey, world, let's stop pretending we can go back. Let's take the lessons that we should learn. Let's try to do the future better. Let's treat people better. Let's stop all the nonsense that's been created over the last 5-10 years. Let's get back to humanity. Let's get back to realism. Let's go touch a blade of grass. Let's, you know, yeah, go on the internet, fine. But then talk to another human being about it and argue about if it was a good show or not. Don't just thumbs up, thumbs down everything. Don't just do everything for likes and take selfies for, you know, so people will like you. I mean, I really hoped and thought, without people trying to or not, that somehow the pandemic was going to force people to be real. And instead, I feel like we're so much faker than we were before this thing started. That makes me sad. That makes me mentally lost. And again, I've already said I don't know why I'm here. So now I don't know why I'm here. And I feel like I have my head floating on a dish walking beside me. Like it's not even attached to my body. I don't know.